This story starts with the hero making sense of that in this world there are a few kinds of toys. Concerning model the person remaining before him, this is one of the noisiest toys he had seen so far, on the grounds that from his mouth just supplications to his alleged god, and what blaming him for being a devil whom he would kill under the judgment of his master. So he killed this champion as fast as conceivable, helping him out to meet his dear god. Time later seemed another new toy, this guaranteed not to have a lot of time since it was his wedding commemoration with his significant other. So he would complete the fight as fast as could be expected. Obviously Baphomet additionally got done with that elderly person and ridiculed him for having kicked the bucket on such a significant day. After seemed a pleasant toy searching for the top of the pinnacle. The last supervisor he was searching for was the Baphomet, and after understanding this he passed on his well-disposed execution to go after him as a neurotic consequently. Yet she turned out to be effectively crushed, and despite the fact that she implored him to excuse her, he disregarded her. Its fun was that the toys kept on showing up, fully intent on overcoming him. Be that as it may, he realized it was incomprehensible, and obviously none of these toys didn't survive the ordeal from this room. After this concise presentation, the hero uncovered that his name was Baphomet, the leader of this pinnacle and the one responsible for recognizing the worth of the toys. Additionally, makes sense of that the second in which people figure out how to contact him are the minutes that more they invigorate him. In any case, they are additionally the most frantic, since it is the second when the great you have been hanging tight for closes so rapidly, notwithstanding the reality of having an entryway before him that doesn't let him out and not having the option to go to the world from which the toys come. Can ponder how to spend the snapshots of fatigue until another toy gets through that entryway. On understanding this, Baphomet flies off the handle, since he didn't see the reason why he needed to remain in this exhausting room. At the point when he was feeling disappointed, he unexpectedly heard an odd commotion. That sound came from the item that the toy before dropped, and due to that article thought of an extraordinary thought. Not long after seemed someone else boasting that he would kill the chief and become the best tracker, was normally crushed and got beat up. Be that as it may, Baphomet didn't kill this human, yet he asked him for what valid reason such an article is utilized, and the justification for his inquiry was straightforward interest. The human would have rather not died, so he clarified that for open the PDA would need to do a facial acknowledgement. Our Baphomet saw rapidly what he was talking about. The more he comprehended, the more he needed to know the reality where the toys live. While his interest expanded, the human attempted to go after him from behind. Yet Baphomet coincidentally killed his new toy that was showing him fascinating things. Yet, because of this item, his visit in the pinnacle turned out to be more enjoyable. In addition, he had gathered every one of the things that people dropped. Also, now and again through those things he could envision how it was the existence of the toys. Over the long haul emerged an issue. The more he had some awareness of them, the more he developed his longing to realize this present reality and not be carrying on with the deception caught inside this room. Of people discovered that they have the notion that a being called God awards them wants. So he contemplated whether this God would likewise satisfy his desire. Simultaneously, he contemplated it. The telephone lost its splendor. While he was exhausted, the pinnacle cautioned him that another toy was coming. Be that as it may, he was not exceptionally energized. Simply believes this should end soon to gather the plunder and have a great time sometime. Out of nowhere, a human with white hair came into the room. Seeing him gathering his items, vanished in a moment. Exceptionally invigorated, he sent off his most memorable assault. However, this new toy obstructed him without any problem. By getting behind him, waved his blade, tossing blazes blue. Baphomet understood that this toy was the one he was sitting tight for quite a while, so he chose to utilize all his power. While they exchanged blows, at fast recollected the feelings he had neglected to be in a genuine fight, so he went after utilizing his chain wizardry. In any case, the human figures out how to avoid them, and making the most of this open door, Baphomet flew towards the human at extraordinary speed. Be that as it may, when he needed to go after him, his blow fizzled and he was tossed to the ground with a kick. At first this appeared to him fun. Yet presently he was unable to comprehend the reason why he was desirous of this toy. This feeling disturbed him, so he delivered all his power and went after conjuring his sickle. Yet his blows were all the while coming up short. He needed to initiate his safeguard to fight off his counterattack, and this caused him to feel much more disappointed being crushed by a straightforward toy. Then, at that point, he went after with his most impressive capacity. In any case, he figured out how to protect himself. Simultaneously, a voice murmured to him, letting him know that despite the fact that he is the proprietor of this pinnacle, he would in any case be caught. Due to that voice, he wound up diverting himself in the battle, exploiting that the human went after with his most grounded blow. Baphomet initiated his energy safeguard. Yet at the same time, seeing his look, he understood that now he was this human's toy. He additionally needed to be somebody like this tracker, passing on that space to be free and turn into the most impressive. He needed to turn into a human, also being his craving areas of strength for so. A state window showed up before him. This expressed that by killing the tracker Raven, his desire would be satisfied. Yet after getting this mission, the human had proactively penetrated his body with the blade immersed on fire. The blue window thought about that the tracker's main goal was finished and requested him out of the pinnacle before it imploded. The tracker went to the leave, abandoning the scorched body of our Baphomet. In any case, didn't expect that being close of the demise. Baphomet rose and pursued him. From outside was a major blast. Then we are shown the laborers thoroughly searching in the center of the rubble of the pinnacle the bodies of the individuals who attempted to challenge the pinnacle of the pit. While they grieved their demises, they saw that there was a survivor. That man is Baphomet. He makes sense of that. He figured he would kick the bucket while attempting to go after the human. Again with his singed body, he pierced his chest with his hand, and the following second squashed his heart, accordingly getting to kill him and make do toward the end. At the point when the specialists requested his name, the hero answered that his name is Baphomet, and keeping in mind that expression, that the framework seemed saying that he finished the principal mission. Then made sense of that the trackers are individuals who battle beasts inside doors and pinnacles. The trackers didn't have a lot of significance until one day the primary conflict of doors happened. Was a peculiarity that makes beasts come out the doors when a pinnacle isn't cleaned. 33% of the populous world was wiped out. Therefore, people began preparing trackers to clean the pinnacles. Baphomet was the last supervisor of the pinnacle of the void, which killed innumerable trackers, and furthermore a beast interested by people, with the end result of needing to become one of them. Individuals confounded him as the legend who finished the pinnacle of the chasm. Individuals wished to see his power. Yet Baphomet had lost every one of his abilities and turned out to be downgraded to a deceiver. Of the pinnacle ruler, turned into the head of a pack that took care of a quarry in a prison. Somewhere else we are shown the fuse of another laborer to the quarry. The man of middle age made sense of how things work here. Referenced that the quarry is exceptionally enormous on the grounds that the trackers cleared the region by overcoming the beasts. In that the newbie saw a few people strolling around a man. The veteran let him know that they are hoodlums who meander around the quarry, irritating or hassling others. They stay here in light of the fact that the top of the quarry likes them, since they go about their business competently. Then, at that point, we are displayed to the supervisor conveying wages to Baphomet pack while they were contending that spending their compensation on all of a sudden. One of them asked him where he sends his cash. The individuals from his group beat him, since he will say it when all is good and well. In light of that question, Baphomet flies off the handle as he should give all his cash to a specialist. In the wake of being dealt with like a cheat and being harmed, he needed to go to the emergency clinic. In any case, having no cash, the specialist made him a proposition and advised him to take care of the obligation to his body. Presently, all the cash he makes goes to that specialist. In any case, it had a decent side, since he wouldn't need to go out in the city and be dealt with like an extortionist. There were issues when certain individuals perceived him at first attempted to overlook them. However, he was unable to take it any longer. So he beat up even the individuals who just checked him out. Before they understood, certain individuals began following him, and he needed to profess to be their chief despite the fact that that was not the existence he needed to appreciate being human. While he was lost in his thinking, a beast went after one of the laborers. However, 2 trackers handily crushed him. By seeing them, Baphomet needed to have that ability to resemble that free areas of strength for end. While pondering it, one of the individuals from his gathering said that Baphomet was superior to the trackers. Others likewise started to say that their chief was better, and, surprisingly, however, the trackers rake in some serious cash and live in penthouse. They like to accompany their chief. After hearing this, without acknowledging, Baphomet had been grinning, since he was having a good time like when he was in the pinnacle with his toys. In any case, don't bother battling now. He was a human and could play around with his toys at whatever point he needed. Then, at that point, one of them asked his name. Yet, he told her he wasn't wearing it any longer. So he assumed he was staying quiet about it for some sort of foundation, which made him look cooler. At the point when his accomplice was going to let him know his name, there was a major blast. Baphomet was bewildered for a couple of moments. At the point when he recuperated and glanced around, saw a few group being singed by fire. Next to him, not exclusively, was that companion's body, yet additionally of the relative multitude of individuals from his pack. To see their wrecked toys, he was angered, since he was in his good times. Simultaneously, the trackers of rank C are being cornered by the new specialist. This person was really a tracker who entered the prisons to take the plunder. Indeed, even in this frantic circumstance, the young lady was pondering how to save the specialists who got to make do. Be that as it may, being reasonable, the kid says it would be smarter to attempt to get away, since his foe is a tracker of rank B and needed to request help to the veteran trackers. The young lady actually demanded needing to save the regular citizens, and in light of this, her friend finished executed. Loaded with disdain, she went after to retaliate for the passing of her friend. However, prior to contacting him, the person cut off her legs while shouting in torment. The person opened an entrance for their partners. They, after seeing the young lady, chosen to offer her to the underground market, since being a tracker of rank C would pay truckload of cash. Being frantic, their chief clarified that the only ones for whom he takes are the trackers. Being more unambiguous, he takes the organs of the trackers and she will be one more of his product. After hearing this, the young lady, much more frantic, she started to cry and shout for somebody to save her. While they ridiculed her for her request for help, one of their heads took off. Another's heart was pierced. Obviously, this was finished by our hero. Back a couple of moments prior, the framework showed him that finished the secret mission. As a prize will be given the power he so yearned for. By getting back to the current, he had utilized another person's weapon to clear out these two, which regularly isn't possible, since it's basically impossible to utilize another person's weapon. In any case, Baphomet enacted his weapon's ace capacity that permitted him to take the weapons from his rivals and utilize 100% of his power. He requested which from them was answerable for breaking his toys. The pioneer couldn't have cared less about his dead associates. Furthermore, started to deride of Baphomet being too old to even consider playing with toys. He went rapidly towards them, seeing that their chief sent 2 of his subordinates to go after him despite the fact that they went after him simultaneously. He got to effectively guard himself. The following second, without giving time for his foes to respond, he penetrated the head of one of them with his blade. The other attempted to go after him, yet with one hand held his arm. With the other hand making a well put together, he cut off his head. Indeed, even with all that, the tracker of rank B actually wanted to get the triumph. So he entered the battle, going after Baphomet and being his blow halted without any problem. This one was intrigued to realize what was his position. Yet, in his mind, he actually had the possibility that he would be the champ. By cutting him a cut, the pioneer was more sure and started to gloat about himself. The tracker went after and, utilizing his extraordinary speed, made a few slices to the group of Baphomet. Seeing him on edge, the pioneer ended up being more invigorated. Since his rival had no gear and just confided in his physical makeup, he was utilizing a chain blade, a viable weapon to go after unpracticed rivals. What's more, it was likewise to not harm a lot of the item to have the option to sell it at a generally excellent cost. While Baphomet hindered the assault coming directly at him, and from that second on he had the option to protect himself from his next assaults. Simultaneously, his capacity consequently enacted and making him more grounded while battling. The pioneer was shocked to see this so strange scene and couldn't respond so as to avoid the blow that sent him flying. Without losing this open door, Baphomet sent off another assault. Be that as it may, being obstructed gone after again the tracker, who scarcely got to evade it without feeling tired. He went on with his assaults. Aggravated while understanding that Baphomet was more grounded, the tracker chose to hang tight for it to head out to give a basic blow. Yet, seeing the atmosphere exuding from him, he was scared, not understanding what he was battling against, since the individual before him didn't appear to be human. What's more, as a result of the trepidation he felt for the air that encompassed him, wound up deadened briefly, in which Baphomet cut off one of his arms in respect to the toy that was alongside him. The other arm was by the person who generally grinned. The left leg was for the fat one who was continuously eating. What's more, the other leg was for the new individual from the group. While watching the tracker shout in torment, Baphomet finished his retribution in the most savage manner, yet kept on beating his body wildly. The justification behind this was on the grounds that he enacted the crazy capacity, expanding his force of killing. Around then of wildness, he understood that the Slayer had made do, and as his energy to kill didn't lessen, headed down the path towards the young lady. In his mind, the main thing he heard was a voice telling her killing humans was made. In any case, as he was going to bring down the Slayer, he halted to feel the presence of different people drawing closer. Disregarding the young lady, gone after these two, yet being near contacting them, the goddess finger contacted his body, simultaneously hearing his voice say that she had saved him and won't allow him to pass on soon, so he ought to rest a second. As to two individuals were befuddled to see him go to them, for later pause and fall oblivious. As this occurred in Baphomet's fantasy, his subordinates called out to him by him, prepared to submit to his orders. He requested to kill all people. Also, spread the word about the name of Baphomet all through this land, and afterward be punctured by a blade. The tracker let him know that now he is as of now not the top of the pinnacle, yet a simple powerless human anticipating demise. Then, at that point, on waking from this horrible, he saw that he was in an unusual room. One individual's previously saluted him for recovering cognizance, and furthermore remembered him as the con artist who attempted to assume praise for getting the pinnacle free from the chasm. So he arrived at the resolution that he was attempting to assume acknowledgement once more. Since the criminal they were pursuing was killed and he was the only one on the scene, likewise says he attempted to research him. However, couldn't track down anything about him, being significantly more keen on knowing his character. Tired of his cross-examination, Baphomet broke the glass in the room, then professed to be the person who killed the tracker with his own hands, and that he would do it however many times as vital when they drove him mad, making the subject burst out snickering at the haughty approach to discussing Baphomet, and afterward go into the room and jokingly advises him to attempt to kill him. However, to feel the atmosphere of this human, his body was shudder, helped him to remember that tracker with whom he battled in the pinnacle. Yet, all things being equal, he went after and turned out to be crushed without any problem. Then he showed up saying that he has a place with a mysterious organization shaped by the public authority. What's more, its motivation is to stop the criminal trackers. The tracker he killed was to be executed on the spot for his violations by offering the tracker's organs to rich elderly people, men, as it was supposed that relocating the tracker's organs would give them great well-being, until it would make them undying. Because of Baphomet they tackled this issue. However, they can't miss the way that he killed those individuals. While looking into the bodies, they saw that the cuts were amazing, as though made by a specialist, and reasoned that Baphomet was more hazardous. So it ought to be taken out before it turned into an issue from here on out. He was baffled, since with much trouble he got to turn into a human. If by some stroke of good luck he were more grounded, they would be in every way under his feet. However, it is a basic dream, since the person before him is going to kill him. In a scene change, we see Baphomet being gone to by the assistant of the focal organization of trackers. While they went to him, he recalled what happened that day. The subject didn't kill him, since he believed that him should enroll as a tracker and utilize his ability to kill foes. There are likewise many tasks to be done covertly, and when you go to pick a tracker's name, he ought to pick one that doesn't draw in much consideration. Baphomet just considered becoming more grounded and would utilize this open door he gave him to make him lament. He picked his genuine name Baphomet as his tracker epithet and would make everybody shudder out of uncontrollable dread apprehension by simply hearing. For quite a while after, our hero was battling against the beasts of a prison. At the point when the head of the beasts seemed to confront him, out of nowhere he was come by him, as he attempted to check in the event that his different capacities had returned. When nothing happened, the beast went after him. Be that as it may, was crushed in a solitary blow. At the point when he left the prison, he really looked at his state window and wouldn't fret beginning from underneath to recapture his powers. Being caught up in his viewpoints, abruptly somebody called out to him by him, putting him on alert. In any case, it was just his chief, who talked through a video call. This guaranteed him for having involved the name of the supervisor of the pinnacle for his epithet of tracker. Since this made a few bits of gossip spread, demolishing his standing. Adding to that while examining in the pinnacle of the chasm, they spread the word about that the tracker Raven forfeited his life to overcome the chief. He didn't mind guaranteeing that he just needed to become more grounded so no other person thinks about opening his mouth. His manager could allow himself to confront the outcomes at the trackers meeting. When he showed up at the gathering place, he was eager to see the ocean, since he just saw him in the plunder of one of his toys. So he headed out to see him very close, abandoning his accomplice who went with him on the sets of his supervisor to watch out for him. In that, our hero met two outsiders whom he took a gander at with complete consideration, affirming that it was that different variety that one of their toys referenced. His buddy immediately took him with the goal that he didn't annoy the remainder of individuals. Then at that point gave him his ID card and a PDA. The name he picked was to pay tribute to the toy he worked with at the quarry. At the point when it was frustrated to enter the occasion, as this direction should show tenderfoots how to be trackers. However, just saw his manager give the initial discourse of the occasion. What's more, subsequent to having introduced himself as the overseer of this direction occasion, Baphomet asserted him for being here, since he should be working capturing criminal trackers. He told the public that he's simply a typical individual from the tracker focal, so he ought not be discussing it. Then at that point he advised him to stress more over himself. Since different trackers mumbled about him, they called him an insane person for having picked the name of the supervisor of the pinnacle, since it caused them numerous issues. So his manager prescribed him to claim not to know him with the goal that he wouldn't be underestimated as well. In the wake of having let him know that he went to where the remainder of his colleagues were, his associates got some information about his discussion with Baphomet, and he answered saying that they were just paltry things, after they referenced that they shouldn't give a trickster access. Yet, their manager cautioned them that the public authority endorsed it. Furthermore, being all basic representatives working for the public authority, we could experience difficulty contradicting their choice. By addressing this issue, he directed his concentration toward Baphomet. Yet, he was feeling better to see that he had areas of strength for in and confronted this present circumstance in the most effective way. What grabbed his eye was the appearance of the trackers of rank A, since they shouldn't be at this occasion. Seeing their disarray, his friend made sense of for him that they will join an extraordinary preparation. Other than it would be great impact for the new trackers, with the exception of Baphomet that was just gathered in the food. Well, he didn't have to eat when he was in the pinnacle. In any case, he was interested to see a toy taking pictures of such food. At the point when he was anxious to attempt it, he was intruded on by somebody pouring water on his head. The guilty party was a position A whose hunting epithet was Leon. This one was interested to meet him. In any case, is come by one more of his friends, as he is having a terrible effect. Anyway, likewise tells Baphomet that this is his shortcoming by having picked the name of Baphomet, since numerous trackers have passed on as a result of him. Furthermore, he causes it to appear to be that he taunts them. Without focusing regarding that matter, he completed the very activity that the tracker made him. However, with a plate of food leaving all present flabbergasted and, surprisingly, his supervisor was going to visit his god, while Baphomet was being threatened by this tracker. Be that as it may, he was not terrified of his messages. Be that as it may, in front of him he wound up taunting his shortcoming, since in such a case that he was so stressed over his different companions, he probably crushed the supervisor of the pinnacle himself. He was furious on the grounds that Baphomet was the person who killed the tracker Raven, who was one of his friends. Despite what might happen, enacted his actual ability to fortify, and when he was going to hit him, he was come by another tracker. Baphomet, after seeing him, was confounded, since his face was natural. In the interim, the others got to remember him as the tracker's sibling Raven. Our hero, hearing this, was amazed. Well, the person who helped him ended up being the more youthful sibling of that tracker who needed to kill to escape the pinnacle and partake in his new life. However, presently he's human,